You have been finance minister for just under 7 years.
Yes.
Yes? And during those 7 years, tell me your most satisfying achievements for you.
I mean, there are a lot that I'm, happy that I got a chance to do. Let's run through some things quickly. I mean, institutionally, very proud of the fact that we have an independent central bank that has a mandate to fight inflation. Very proud of an independent fiscal commission. Very proud of the fact that we have a transparent mechanism for the nomination, selection, and appointment of board members, and that we have a strengthened public investment management system. That's on, the institutional development side. Very proud of the fact that we've had 7 years of no new taxes. That we've had a balanced budget for every single year that I've been in office, for all 7 fiscal years, including this one, with the exception of the COVID crisis. There's no other period in history where we've had 7 balanced budgets. COVID was in the middle, so over a period of 7 budgets, 6 balanced budget with the exception of COVID. Very proud of the fact that the macroeconomic variables are in the best state that they've been in for 45 years. We have the highest level of reserves in our history. Over, the number now is over 5.1 or 5.2 billion US dollars. We have the lowest unemployment rate of our history, 4.2%. We have the lowest debt. We're on track to having the lowest debt in almost 50 years. By the end of this fiscal year, we should be at 68%. Those macro achievements are, very, very proud of, and the administration is very proud of. Very proud of, some of the policies that we've been able to institute. The public sector compensation reform, which was a massive reform that took a lot of energy, commitment, and time. Introduction of paternity leave in the public sector. Expansion of maternity leave from 40 days to 60 days. Very proud of the privatizations, the Wigton privatization, the Trans-Jamaica privatization, broadening the base of ownership in the Jamaican economy. Very proud that we've been able to leverage economic stability and do things that have never been done before, like issuing the first Jamaican dollar bond in international capital markets. I mean, that is huge. I don't think we have, this is people in New York and London accepting J dollars securities, issuing the first catastrophe bond in Jamaica's, the first small country to issue a catastrophe bond. Doing the first
Jamaica, the first small
country to issue a catastrophe bond. But let me talk about disaster risk separately. And then the first, government of Jamaica securitization transaction, structured securitization transaction in international capital markets. So a number of firsts, right, in terms of leveraging the stability of our environment. I'm very proud of the disaster risk financing framework that we've put in place, where we are, we have a suite of financial instruments that can provide resources in the event of natural disaster. We have a catastrophe bond. We built on a CRIF facility that was there before, and we added a credit contingent claim. We built up the contingency fund, which only had $100 million in it for 30 years. That's what the balance was.
100 million Jamaican.
100 million Jamaican. Right? I increased the limit that was the limit. I increased the limit from 100 million to 10 billion, and we got up to about just under 6 billion in that fund, which came in useful during COVID. So taking a different approach to disaster risk financing, something I'm very proud of. Very proud of being able to, abolish distortionary taxes that didn't yield very much, but that acted as a disincentive to commerce and to enterprise. The distortionary asset tax for non-financial businesses, the distortionary minimum business tax, that whether or not you have any revenue or have even made a profit, you still had to pay $50,000, even if your company is just selling mangoes on the street. So we're able to abolish those. Very proud with the changes we made with the ad valorem stamp duty and transfer tax, which made purchasing real estate more affordable for people because they didn't have to fork out 10% of the purchase price to give to the government for the privilege of purchasing a property or selling one. And that was key to the resurgence in property development that we've seen, commercial, retail, housing.
That's a long and impressive list.
And it's not finished. I'm very proud of what we've done with student loan. We first removed the guarantor requirements for persons who were wards of the state, and then we removed the guarantor requirements for persons on path, and then this year we removed the guarantor requirements for all people applying to for financing. It's a huge change, removes the inhibitor for financing of tertiary education. Very proud of what we've done to improve the. I can go on. If you,
no. I think we've heard enough. More than enough. Well, you've had a long and impressive list. Mm-hmm. My question now, as a result of that, here you are, 7 years later, about to go off to the IMF. And by the way, congratulations. I think that is not only a feather in Nigel Clarke's cap, but Jamaica's cap as well. But you're leaving at a time when your government has chalked up so many impressive macroeconomic successes, and yet the government is in danger of being defeated at the polls, behind, if some polls are to be believed. Yes? Why? What is it that in this political economy, a government that has been able to achieve so much at a macro level is struggling politically?
Okay, there's a lot to unpack in that question. The first thing, let's just recognize up front, if you look at the polls in detail, I think you'll see that when they ask people, who do you think has your best interest at heart? Overwhelmingly, the Jamaica Labour Party comes out on front. Mm-hmm. When they ask who is best able to handle the economy, the Jamaica Labour Party is convincingly ahead. They ask not just the economy, who is better able to manage the country, the Jamaica Labour Party is well ahead. They ask historically who has been even better managers of the country, the Jamaica Party is well ahead. However, the one variable that we're not ahead on, they ask about who cares for the poor, the PMP is ahead on that, and then about change. Right? 30% of the people wanting change. So you have a dissonance where people are acknowledging through the same polls that the administration of the country is one over the past since 2016, which gets their approval. But the problems of the country are such that people need a renewal of hope. Yeah. So that presents a challenge to the government about how to ensure that the government continues to manage things in a way that people approve of, but at the same time are able to channel hope through changes that will be made. Now, one of the things that we didn't talk about we mentioned the list of things that have been achieved, is that this government has focused extensively on the matter of income. And every government in democratic societies are always reactions to governments that came before. So we focused on income because income was absent from the conversation before. If you look at it, and I can show you variables to substantiate my point. So if you look at what we've done with income, first of all, the average measure of income is per capita GDP, the total output from the country divided by the population. Mm-hmm. Per capita GDP in US dollar terms has gone up from the realm of $5,000 plus or minus to the realm of about $7,000
in Jamaica.
Okay? In Jamaica,
over the last
8 years. Okay, minimum wage has gone up by 260%, and in US dollars, so if you look at what the $6,200 could buy in 2016, and you look at what the $15,000 can buy in 2024, in US dollars, we're talking an 88% increase. There's no other 8-year period. No other 8-year period where the minimum wage has increased by that amount. Then you look at things like introducing a social pension, 15,000 people having income where they did not have before. You look at the moving the threshold, first to 1.5 and to 1.7, moving the threshold for pensioners, moving the threshold for raising NIS was raised between 23% between 23% and 76%. You know, in NIS you have full pension, 3/4 pension, half pension. Full pension was 23%, half pension was 36%, and 3/4 and the sorry. But so I'm making a point. So we have focused on income and we've delivered on income, but what the experience has shown is that income is not enough, because when you are able to move the income of somebody on low income from $6,000 to $8,000 or from 12,000 to 14,000, yes, they are better off. But is it life-changing better off? No.
And then don't forget the factor of inflation.
Yeah. Yes, but these increases have been above inflation.
Oh, so they're real increases.
Oh, they're real increases. So let me give you so if you look at, like, the minimum wage is 260% nominal J dollars, 88% US dollars, and then when you back out now CPI, it's like a 56% real increase over the 8 years, right? But so the point I want to make is that income is not enough to change people's lives. You have got to change the public services that they consume. What is the point of going from, how much is my life going to change if my income goes from $12,000 a week to $14,000 a week, and I still have to wait an hour for the bus? And by the way, when the bus comes, it lands in a pothole and it splashes me. My life is still miserable. Same. Yes. So what has happened, Cliff? We had a pandemic for 3 years. The public investments were executed at a much slower pace for quite naturally. The focus of the cabinet, the focus of ministers is on recovery. It's on dealing with the pandemic, dealing with expenses, dealing with the vaccines, dealing with the field hospitals, and recovering the economic base of the country, recovering our tourism product, getting foreign exchange back into the country, getting the GDP back up. So the public investments that can improve people's lives, the garbage trucks and the buses and so on, those have come late in the term. Yeah, but the truth is that the dissonance is not that income. So going back to where we started.
No, don't go back to where we started.
Go ahead.
What I want to therefore ask you, macroeconomically, you did it. Well, you took your eyes off the political side of the political economy that you're operating in. That I call it the Wholeness Clarke team. Yeah? You focused on delivering macroeconomically, but you went to sleep in the political field. What happened politically? You kept your eyes off the field. Belmont Road was left to grow grass.
Okay, so let me respond to you there, Cliff. You can't prove the counterfactual, but what you can certainly do is you look from previous Jamaican experience that, you can't achieve anything sustainably without macroeconomic stability and without the kinds of achievements that we've spoken about. You would, if as bad as things are today, or not bad, but as challenging as things might be today politically, where would they be if we had 14% unemployment? We probably wouldn't have gotten this far. You have to remember that in the in the grand scheme of Jamaican political history, to be going into your 9th year and still to be politically competitive doesn't really have much historical precedent. I mean, we our minds have been sort of disturbed a bit by that long run of the People's National Party between 1989 and 2007. But bear in mind that that was aided by an implosion of the opposition. If you were to take that out, the precedent for going 9 years and remaining competitive is not. So you look at the outcome of the local government election. Let's look at the precedents for a local government election 8 years into the life of an administration, and you coming out even in that local government election.
The accusation that I hear from some in your own party is that you did not appreciate enough, yes, as in you as a finance minister, the prime minister, did not appreciate enough that you are operating in a competitive two-party system, right, where you needed to take care of the base, your party. Without them, your days in government are numbered. And that if there's an X against you, yes, is that you all did not recognize that there's no JLP government without a viable JLP party, Jamaica Labour Party. Yeah.
So I think
how do you respond to those who say, some of whom are not too dissatisfied that you're going?
Yeah. So I would say, Cliff, that there's a role that the government ought to play, and there's a role for a political party. And, success has many fathers, and the other side is always an orphan.
Yes.
What you are pointing to, I would say that the government has done its part in terms of ensuring that the country has been, for the most part, properly administered, that our economy is in the most stable position that it has ever been, that people's income have risen appreciably through various forms and means.
All right, the clock is ticking, and
Yes.
there are some questions I want to. So
So
speak of the achievements. Hold on. You speak of the achievements. What are the disappointments? What is the greatest regret, if not failure?
No, I don't know. It might be too early for me to speak about regret. I don't have any on mine here. But what I wish that we could have moved faster with legislation. The legislative process, is one that can be quite frustrating for all ministers involved, despite the fact that those involved in the drafting of legislation work extremely extremely hard, and sacrifice some of their personal lives to serve the country in that regard. But the process as a whole is sometimes takes too long and is a bit unpredictable. We could have done more if we were able to move legislation along more swiftly.
May I put one to you that has been put to me? Your management and communication, messaging of the monumental public sector compensation review. What you have done, yes? Your predecessors feared touching it with a long stick. You took it on. And yet, this day, your administration is getting very little credit for it. Anything you would have done differently?
I mean, there's a reason why my predecessors wouldn't have taken it on. It's not politically rewarding. It just simply isn't. And it isn't politically rewarding, Cliff. Anytime you have a process involving lots of people where there are differential results, you're going to have people who compare or are unhappy. That's just a structural element of it. People are much happier if I get 4% and everybody else gets 4%, I'm upset, but I'm not going to be bitter. Where disappointment comes in is if I get 4% and I hear that you get 8%, and then somebody else says, "Well, back foot, I got 2." Yeah,
so that's what's happening.
When you have a process where there are differential results, this was a restructuring. We were taking a particular structure, disbanding it altogether, and forming a new structure, and then having people graduate from the old to the new.
Go ahead.
It is by definition. It is by definition a process in which you will have dissatisfied voices. But what we have tended to do is to only those voices of dissatisfaction have been heard, and I would put it to you that they are they would be in the minority, in the small minority as well. So yeah, look, this was not taken on before because it's not politically rewarding. We had the courage to take it on. We swore a duty to serve the people of Jamaica faithfully, and the generation that we are from, the Prime Minister and myself, along with other members of the cabinet, but certainly, as the Prime Minister said yesterday in his speech, we would have, come with a very compatible way of thinking about Jamaica and Jamaica's challenges and problems, and we intended to, bite the bullet on a number of these chronically difficult problems and challenges. We are. Yes.
So you don't think you could have, for example, staggered the increases for the political executive and the political class?
Again, that has been there's a reason why we have not addressed political compensation for 30 or 40 years. The reason is that it's unpopular and difficult. Yeah. But Cliff, if the country is to move forward, what we have had the courage to do the right thing, in spite of the political costs. We have had the courage to take political capital and to use it for the long-term best interest of the country. And the long-term best interest of the country is one, certainly as far as this is concerned, is that those who serve the public in elected capacities, we have to have compensation levels that allows them to rely solely on those sources of income. And this is a reform that others would have loved to have done, but either the political courage wasn't there or the political capital wasn't there, and they did not do it. I will say to you that at the time we did it, this wouldn't have happened if the cabinet wasn't fully behind it. So at the end of the day, this was not just a decision of the Prime Minister herself. It would have been a cabinet decision.